Hello, hi. I hope all of you are doing very well. I'm here to share a very fond memory of mine in this publishing process. As you have seen in the title, I sat on the footpath and wept for almost half an hour or so. It was a very emotional day and a very tragic day as well. You see, the people out here in Kolkata know it very well that a lot of people visit Park Street on Christmas because of the lighting, the Christmas jingles, the St. Paul's Cathedral, the Park Street Cemetery, and the wonderful cafes that are there and the bookstalls, as well as Oxford. So, what I had planned was I had called 10 friends of mine, very close childhood friends, and asked them to join me on the 24th of December so that we could attract a bit of crowd and market the book as well as sell them my book on the streets. But what happened is all of them had got genuine reasons and denied me to come on the very last day. They had given a nod that they will try, but when I called them on the morning of 24th, all of them denied it. So I never did this work before, like selling things to people on the streets. Like I've seen a lot of NGOs and the representatives at the metro station and on the streets asking people for their time and telling them about their initiative. But for me, it was completely new. And I really, really need it. Perhaps it's theoretically possible for a single person to do it, but when you have someone else who is doing something, you get inspired and it motivates you to do the same thing, imitate that person. So when two, three people are there, you give strength and support to each other, and the work gets easier. And I was all alone. Another thing that happened was there are a lot of street peddlers in Park Street. So I had given two copies each to all the stall owners and asked them to sell it on Christmas. But the tragedy that happened was before afternoon, the police came and removed all the stalls because they had predicted a lot of people were supposed to come in the evening, and if the stalls and the street peddlers stay at their positions, it would be like really difficult to handle the crowd. So the stalls got removed, my friends got reasons and they couldn't join me. And I was walking across Park Street with a baggage of almost 40 copies down my shoulders. And it was a terrible, terrible experience here. There's a place called Allen Park where a lot of events happen during Christmas. And there's a footpath just outside Allen Park, beside it. So I sat there and started calling people. Like there was a person who was selling Santa caps and all those light caps and all those stuff. But I stood I stood beside him, then sat down and started calling people to buy my book. Trust me, nobody responded to my calls, and it was pathetic. After some time, I started questioning myself. I've written this book for like 17 months, and right now I'm on the footpath and calling like almost a salesman, and nobody is responding. Perhaps it's not worth it. Perhaps the book is valueless and people don't want it. I'm not that important that people must buy my book. So I sat there, stopped calling people after a while, and started crying. It was, right now I'm laughing because the copies I had bought to sell on the streets got sold on 25th when I got two, three of my closest friends, like with whom I'm friends for like 15 years now. But on 24th, it was not, it was a sweet blasphemy. Like, it was blasphemous. Like, what happened? I was sitting on the footpath and crying, and people were wondering, like, this boy with a lot of books crying on the footpath. And I stayed there for half an hour and then returned back to Oxford. And in Oxford, they wouldn't keep my bag because the back counter was full. So I had to still carry the 40 books luggage down my shoulders, and they were like burning after a time. And I was going through other writers' books. I saw Richard Osman's books. I saw The Seven Moons of Mali. I saw Meiko Kawakami's books. I saw a huge counter for Amitabh Ghosh's books. I saw a wonderful book that I really, really wish to buy after a few days called China Room. And I was going through books, everything the light touches. And I was going through their authors' bios and the synopsis and perhaps the first 3, 4, 5 pages of every book. And I was thinking, why can't I shout inside Oxford and make the people out there know that I'm also a writer and I've got books too in my bag? Perhaps I don't have the budget to showcase them in Oxford, but I have them in my bag. Having your own books that you can't sell, and seeing other people's books and people actually picking them up and buying them, and both yours and their books belong to the same genre and same school of writing, it doesn't feel terrible from one point of view, but it's extremely, extremely painful from the other. So I had to go through that, and after staying for an hour at Oxford and seeing a lot of books, I returned back home. I didn't have my lunch nor my breakfast. After I came back home, I stayed in my room. This is my room. This is the place where I've written the book. And it's a wonderful, wonderful room. I will show you nuances of this room someday else. I returned to my room, started reading a book, and that's it. That's how my 24th went. But on 25th, something incredible happened. 2, 3 of my friends called me up. They said, we really, really wish to go with you. There was a friend called Vivek, and he was returning from Vellore. He studies at VIT. He came to Howrah, and from there he just handed over his luggage to his father, and straight away he arrived at Park Street to help me. He didn't take a shower for 30 hours. He was in the train, and he stood there with me for four hours without even water and food, in that crowd where when we call people, they don't stand. And there's another friend of mine, my best friend, Orko. Vivek is also my best friend. Like, whenever I'm in need, if I call Vivek, even if he's in New York, he will be there for me. And for Orko, we have sat beside each other for 6, 7 years in school. We're always in the same section and always 1, 2 roll numbers next to each other. There was a time I got 86.1 and he got 86. And I was 4, he was 6. I was 15, he was 19. And this was how close we were. And we are very close still now. And he came, he also asked people, he got embarrassed a few times because people wouldn't respond to our calls and they would just nod their head or say no. But he stood there for me and sold a lot of copies. Vivek invented a very wonderful marketing strategy. He would say, you see, this is a book, this is Shautam Mukherjee, and I would stand behind him and say, this is Shautam Mukherjee and this is Shautam Mukherjee. And people would get awestruck. Awesome marketing strategy. And when they would see that I have written the book, they would recheck with my photograph at the back of the book. And it's wonderful. We sold over 20 copies there, and the rest 20 got sold elsewhere. But marvelous experience. It started as a tragedy, but we ended it with glory, and that's how a fond memory of my publishing journey got formed. Perhaps I will cherish it all my life here. Even if I don't write a second book, which I will definitely write very soon. This is really, really interesting and fun. to share with you guys.